What is your schedule like? Believe it or not, it is not as exhausting as an astronaut in space. Every move an astronaut makes is scheduled, from eating and brushing their teeth to working and sleeping. According to NASA, their schedules are arranged in 5-minute increments by a team in mission control called Ops Planner. All of what's happening and who's involved is part of an astronaut's schedule. Considering all kinds of variables, it's not always easy to fit every task into each man's schedule, including times that the vehicle is in the dark or light, and the various time zones for the ISS for mission control in Houston and Russia. You will never opt to look after your hygiene, be it at home, at school, or on vacation. What does this mean? Well, washing, brushing your teeth, using the toilet, and even putting on reasonably fresh, clean clothes. When an astronaut rolls out of bed to clean up for the day, they have a personal hygiene kit instead of a shower for the morning rinse. The kit contains rinseless shampoo developed for hospital patients who are unable to take a shower. With help from a little bit of water, astronauts comb the no-rinse shampoo through their hair. They don't drench their hair, and some of the little water they use floats away during the hair washing process. Morning potty breaks may take a few minutes longer than on Earth because using the restroom in space is slightly more complicated than what we're used to down here. Because of this, the astronauts have to strap themselves into the toilet to prevent floating off. They have to position themselves on it using leg restraints and good aim. You have a suction tube that carries the waste away in an airstream down a hole instead of a flush toilet. The toilet works like a vacuum cleaner to suck air and waste into the commode. Astronauts brush their teeth normally as you do, but there is a difference. But everything floats. Even water and toothpaste. Astronauts use edible toothpaste, and the mouth is then cleaned with a wet wipe. Fun, right? Except no, because they have to brush their mouth as close as possible to prevent the toothpaste from floating out. Once the morning routine's wrapped up, an astronaut begins their work assignment for the day, which can entail several different tasks. As NASA clarifies, the ISS is set up to be a permanent orbiting research facility, and the astronauts who orbit Earth while living on the ISS help carry out those research efforts. Astronauts are experiment subjects to figure out how well their bodies adjust to living in space for long periods. So they are taking part in medical experiments while working on science experiments that require their input and monitoring projects that are controlled from the ground. Since astronauts live where they work, they have the burden to help keep the ISS in tip-top shape. Crew members are trusted with regularly checking support systems and cleaning filters, updating computer equipment, and even taking out the trash like homeowners. Breakfast is still an important meal in space, and astronauts are scheduled to eat one every day. While there might not be binge eating, astronauts are scheduled to eat 3 meals a day: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Calorie requirements differ for each astronaut, so how much they eat depends on the astronaut. According to NASA, a small female astronaut requires only about 1,900 calories a day, while a large man requires about 3,200 calories. Mealtime depends on what they're eating and how much prep time it requires. Brownies and fruit can be eaten just how they come, so that's a good option if an astronaut is looking to refuel quickly. Other foods, like spaghetti or mac and cheese, require water to be added during prep time. Since the meals are first cooked on Earth, there isn't much prep time needed in space. The human body evolved on Earth in a gravity field. The absence of weight leads to health problems such as bone and muscle loss. Weightlessness also makes it harder to do even small tasks. The astronauts anchor themselves firmly, or they would drift away. Even using the computer becomes difficult. Spacewalks can be exhausting and put unusual strain on muscles. This means that astronauts have to take time to exercise and to keep themselves fit and healthy to carry out their job on the ISS and return to Earth in good shape. Astronauts need to commit hours every day to fitness to prevent loss of bone and muscle while living in microgravity. They need to maintain the condition of their bones and muscles. Also very important, as when they return to gravity on Earth, their physical condition is maintained as well as possible. Our bodies are continually working since they're working against gravity to move here on Earth. Exercise is a lot simpler for space travelers and doesn't need a lot of work, with extremely limited gravity in space. Astronauts who spent a long period in space and didn't keep on training would lose a great deal of the muscle they built on Earth, leaving them feeling rather weak when they get back. There are a ton of effects on the body from all the weightlessness. Some of them you can't see because it's your eyes. Probably too many changes to go into detail here. Sleep is an important part of the day, even when you're getting to see the most amazing amazing views of the Earth firsthand. Astronauts can sleep anywhere, as any surface can be a floor, wall, or ceiling. But weak gravity means that the astronauts may gradually float away while sleeping. Rather than beds, astronauts have to adjust to sleep in their sleeping bags situated in their crew cabin. The sleeping bags are hooked to the wall to keep the astronauts secure because they'd be leafing around throughout the evening, which doesn't sound relaxing or safe. Along with the no-bed situation, the sleep position here is the same position throughout the day, which doesn't make things easier. There is no sense in gratifying relaxation in space you get on Earth after a long day at work. To top it off, the sound of air conditioning, fans, and machinery is always present. Astronauts disturbed by these humming noises and have trouble sleeping may use eye masks and earplugs. Astronauts usually have to sleep for 8 hours of rest toward the finish of every mission day. If they experience difficulty resting, space travelers can invest that planned energy browsing the PC in their rest quarters or reading if they have books. What happens when an astronaut gets sick? Each of the astronauts staying on the ISS has a specific role and undergoes thorough training in that area. The astronaut assigned to the position of crew medical officer is in charge of emergency medical care. The medical officers are trained not only in first aid but also in suturing wounds and administering injections. The ISS is furnished with a medical kit holding medical instruments and drugs that are used when required. All astronauts